Indoor cycling, Zwift, racing, parenting. We cover those and all of our hopes and dreams in between. Welcome to the Talk Dirty to Me podcast, an entertaining look into the lives of everyday people trying to achieve virtual cycling glory from our basements and garages from around the world. This podcast is rooted in Zwift and has evolved into found friendships, fitness, health, and a little sprinkle of humor. This may be one of the only podcasts where a little heavy breathing shouldn't scare you away, because we're riding our bikes while we're recording it.
Welcome back, everybody. We have a very special repeat guest, the first of the repeat guests, who is our friend Jay. Morning, man.
Hello. Much to Miller's chagrin. First repeat guest.
Suck it, Miller.
All right, that's going in as a sound clip. It's going to go on the end of every episode from here on out. Anyway, Jay's been busy since we last talked to him. So let's set the picture here. Last time we talked to you, your wife was expecting. You were preparing, had just qualified for the UCI Worlds Esports, and was just being all kinds of busy with life, right? And now
Zwifting in a bathroom.
So you were Zwifting in that. That's right. I think actually, to be fair, he had just recently upgraded to the garage.
I did.
That's
correct.
That's accurate.
Yeah, fact checker. He's getting paid for it now. This guy back here. Anyway. So, so what's new, Jay?
Yeah, so the baby came. Finished racing the... Thank you. Yeah, I keep joking with everybody that the baby's the one that's sleeping good. It's our 3-year-old that's been giving us issues. But either way, it's been a lot of fun. No boring times with that. Got to compete in the UCI Worlds, which was a blast, getting to represent Team USA and just everything that came with that. And then also, I did the U.S. National Championships, which was awful. And then I guess I officially joined the next esports team. I think the last time we did this, I was like, I
had just been
accepted.
Signed, I think.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, a couple things have changed. So, and there might be even more changes coming. Who knows? But that's neither here nor there. I'm not allowed to talk about that. I just like giving little sneak peeks of what could happen.
Is Jay pregnant now?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe I gotta leave something so I can be the first three-peat guest.
Nice. Keep it hanging.
So
You just keep doing what you're doing. It sounds like you'll be on there anyway.
Yes.
Because now you also won the A1 division, right? You and the next fellas? Atlantic?
Yeah, in 2 different leagues.
See that? Spread them out.
Hey.
I just saw your
That's
name
right.
on the winning team for Atlantic A1. So it's like, oh, just keep busy.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
we won Atlantic and America's East. So that was
That's awesome.
and then also our European friends won their division as well, but I wasn't on that team. They did not need my help.
Now, we were discussing, I don't know if you know this, but I'll throw up a screenshot. We had 22 or 23 people at a peak gathered in a channel live watching you race the UCI Worlds. So that's, I think, at least in my experience, the largest gathering of Eat Dirt at a single time in a voice channel. Sully, can you confirm?
That's correct.
Wow.
So we were all cheering you on. Clay was
awesome.
even like en route to the airport, sitting in the airport lobby watching. So was a lot
Yeah, I
of fun.
forgot somebody had like texted me or something right before and told me about that. So I was like, oh man, I was like, this is gonna be so embarrassing if I do this race and get dropped on the very first hill and everybody's watching.
Nah, man,
Luckily,
you
I
did
didn't get dropped on
awesome.
the first hill.
I don't remember if it was Jose. I think it was Jose that said that you know, full-time job, doing this like for fun, qualified, and not only qualified, but like totally held your own. I mean, you're with the front pack
Yeah.
the whole time, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
bravo, sir.
it was a little bit surreal seeing some of those names that were next to me and during the race. That was pretty wild. It was,
Now
Exciting race. I mean,
it was,
just
yeah.
like
It's crazy.
kind of like a showcase for Zwift. I think Zwift could have asked for a better race.
yeah, it was.
Definitely.
It was also fun too, like being in a race that is probably going to be the most legit race I ever enter, where we're all in the same equipment. Everyone has to go through the same weigh-in process, and
Yep.
all the bikes in game were all neutralized,
That's
so we're all in the
awesome.
same stuff.
That's cool.
So it was really man versus man, and then also the power-ups were also predictable for a change.
Really?
I thought that
So,
was weird myself, but
Yeah. I was
Oh,
gonna say.
Yeah,
I mean, that's part. To me, that's like part of the power up is like the chance.
Yep.
If you give everybody the same one, then it becomes okay. I can see, yeah, there's some strategy and where to use them, but that's not fun.
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
But it worked out.
but yeah, no, I think my favorite part about that is I feel like there's always like some doubt, like in the back of your mind, especially for me, that like, man, like what if my trainer's like overreading or I'm not as good as I think I am, and then to be able to do a race like that and still put up the same numbers. Actually, I set a bunch of personal bests on the new trainer, so that gave me a lot of confidence that all my stuff is good.
So you buying a
That's always
kicker
good
now?
feeling.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I did. So after the race, it's funny, they told us before the race, they're like, all right, we have like a program in the kicker that records all the data of your last ride. So after the race is over, get off your bike, don't touch it, send it back to us so we can analyze it and make sure no one tampered with it. So we're like, all right, deal. So we finish the race, I get off of it, I'm packing it up and everything, I'm about to send it back, and then they send an email out saying, okay, we're not actually analyzing everyone's trainers. It's only a select few. If you've been contacted already, then you know it's you. If you haven't been contacted, then you're off the hook.
That's funny.
And if you want to keep your trainer, you can buy it from us for like $600.
Awesome.
So I was like, huh, I guess I'll go ahead and keep it.
Yeah.
Brand new
Yes, please.
kicker trainer for $600. So,
Take part in that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a heck of a deal.
so
That's
now
like
I
half
have two
price,
trainers and one bike.
right? Two trainers.
Yeah, half price. Yeah.
You have a travel
That's
trainer.
Awesome.
That's a marketing miss by Zwift. They could have resold it as the trainer that Jay rode
Yeah.
for
World
1800.
championship trainer.
Guys, Steve Bonica can only own so many trainers.
That's funny. I guess it's a good way of, keeping everybody honest, though. Tell them one
Oh,
story
yeah.
and then hit them with the reverse.
Yep.
Actually, we're not collecting everybody's.
Just
It was
the
actually
Aussies.
really stressful too, because this kicker trainer over there is, I guess it's self-calibrating or whatever. So like, it is what it is. There's not really much you can do if it's not reading correctly or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like, there were times where like I always calibrate my secondary every time I ride just to make sure it's accurate.
Yep.
It's very predictable on my H3, and like I have like if I'm on Tempest Fugit, I have it in a certain gear, a certain RPM. I can hit between 200 and 210 watts every time.
Right.
It shows on my Ceres and it shows on my secondary. But with the Wahoo, there'd be times where it would be spot on. There'd be times where it would be like 10 watts less.
Damn.
And it would like drive me crazy. I'm like, why is it not accurate today? Like, why is it 10 watts down? And I was asking people, and they're like, well, unfortunately, that just kind of happens sometimes with it. I was like, what do you mean, unfortunately? I was like, I don't want to leave like the biggest race of my life up to chance. Like, that just happened to have a bad day on my kicker. And so I didn't. So actually, they told us we didn't have to dual record for the race. Yeah, they're like, well, since everybody's on the same trainer.
Yeah.
And
Did you anyway?
no one's required to dual record.
Interesting.
So I was like, I don't want to deal with the stress of thinking my trainer is reading low. So I didn't even look at the dual record for that day. I didn't start it.
Okay.
But I'm just gonna assume it was good.
Yeah. The tamper-proof mechanisms put in place don't require a dual record, I guess.
Spoiler alert, it's a piece of duct tape. Do not break the seal.
That's cool, though. I mean, the coolest thing, too, was like the women's race before. It was a lot of fun to watch. Those ladies put on a hell of a show.
The U.S. riders were like putting in attacks throughout the whole thing, but like didn't really pay off for them in the end.
Yeah. So I guess leading up to the race, we had a lot of team meetings and stuff. Like we had our own Team USA Discord channel that we were talking tactics and all sorts of stuff in the weeks leading up to it. And the week of, we had like our final team meeting, and we pretty much kind of discussed it and said, all right, look, we've got the biggest team at the race, so we can afford to try some stuff. And we had a pretty diverse team as well, so we knew we had options. So basically, we had like pretty much split up into like 3 groups of one, somebody that was going to try to break up the race early, disrupt it, see if we could split the group. 2, we had like the enforcers, the guys that if there was a breakaway and we didn't have somebody in it,
cover it.
They could help bring it back. And then, or try to get in a break themselves. And then 3, the finishers, guys that were going to do nothing but just sit in and focus on the finish. And so,
that's cool.
So, I mean, really, the plan almost worked out perfectly. We had Spencer go off the front and had a couple of really strong guys go with him, like towards the end of the race. And the team that we were most worried about, it turns out for good reason, was the Australian team. And they didn't have anybody in the break. So we were thinking the whole time, like, oh, this is perfect. They're going to throw their big diesel engines at the front and have to burn those guys to bring it back because they don't have anybody there.
Right.
That's exactly what happened. But unfortunately, those big diesel engines were really strong.
Pretty big.
They brought it back. Yeah. But then also because that breakaway still had like 15 seconds at the start of the climb. Like, man, the pack, like you couldn't really see on the broadcast, but like before we hit that first little bridge to get onto the glass roads, like the pack speed just like went way up.
Yeah.
And I think that first little incline, I did like over 10 watts a kilogram just of that first one to get to the start. So instead of it being a 2.5 minute climb, it ended up being like a 3.5 minute climb.
Jeez.
Like full gas from the beginning. I think everyone was like panicked that the brakes still had such a big gap.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I was really hoping that it was going to be like a punchy climb, like would back off on the flats and I could recover a little bit, but it was pretty much as hard as you could go.
Yeah, we were just watching that break
from the
and
bottom.
just thinking like everybody's like, oh man, they might actually keep it. And then I forget who it was. It went off of the brake and was just pulling away from the brake. But then they did an angle where they looked backwards from that rider, and you could see the pack just coming force. They're gonna get caught. These guys are gonna get caught.
Yeah.
Sure enough.
Yeah, that last man standing on the brake, I think he did like 7.4 watts per kilogram for 5 minutes. Like, that's insane to me.
Yeah.
Was he he was
That dude is
Austrian,
so strong.
right? It's not Australian, Austrian.
Yeah,
Got
Austrian.
caught by
Yeah.
the Australians.
Yeah.
Cool. I was blown away by the numbers that the broadcast was showing. I mean, it's just
10,000.
powerful.
Yeah, I think you hit like 12 at some point, was holding it. And then he backed off and like, oh,
Yeah.
he went down to just 8. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sitting in there.
Yeah, I think we were all looking at the numbers afterwards, the team was. And I think Jay Vine averaged over 600 watts for that final climb. I was like, that's crazy. And I think he's my size as well. Like, he's a small
Yeah.
dude. Averaging 600 watts.
It's power.
That's nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah. I guess that's why he's on the world tour and getting top 5 in the Vuelta a España.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
kinda
other
cool, though, to
thing
be
is
able to-
you're racing with legitimate pros, you know.
Yeah.
In real life, these guys ride on TV.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not that you're not a legitimate pro, Jay.
Right.
I know it's not my intent.
Not like those guys.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It was also cool for me. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys watch that YouTube special about the Zwift Academy and the finalists. Like, the 3 of them were on that show. 3 of the racers.
Oh yeah.
Sam Hill was one of them. So
Yep.
it was crazy.
Sam Hill, who put in a heck of a dig for his team.
Yeah.
Oh my.
He was just
Big
sitting on the
diesel
front
engines.
pulling. I remember it was Tiago saying he's got to be pulling
Yep.
for somebody because there's no way he'd do that on his own.
Yep. But yeah, it was so one of the cool things that was kind of unexpected was like before the race, we had to do a production test. So we had to like call into a Zoom meeting, and the production guy would like check our camera angles and lighting and all that stuff. And we had to make sure that we had no branding whatsoever. I still have my tape. It's like water bottles and stuff. Like, see my
nice.
Gatorade bottle, I taped
Yeah.
over the G.
That's funny.
So we had to make sure no branding whatsoever was in the picture frame. And
Babies allowed.
but what they did is they went like person by person. So like, and of course I was Mr. Unlucky and I was like one of the last people to go. It's awful, just sitting there all day. But I got to like see all the people that I've been racing against
Yeah.
for so long. And I was like, man, like some of these people did not look like what I expected at all. And but yeah, it was fun like seeing some of the pros like Jay Vine and who else, that Bogna guy.
Yeah.
Like after watching that GCN
Yep.
special, everything, and it was just wild seeing all these people that some of the pros like Nico Roach, and but yeah, it was pretty cool. I felt like a fanboy. I was like, I'm about to take myself off mute and start asking for autographs.
That's cool. Jay Vine up on that weird platform, right? Like
Yeah,
picture afterwards.
yeah. No one ever got an answer on why he did that. But actually, he was in a. Someone said that he's training in Spain right now. And he's training at altitude, and him and his wife ended up renting an Airbnb down at sea level in Girona, so that they could be at sea level for the race. So that wasn't like his normal setup. So
Sure.
I guess the Airbnb had that platform. And he set up on it, or maybe that's his, and he just takes it everywhere he goes. Puts it in his backpack.
Oh, we lost Sully.
He
That platform will travel.
his audio has not been connected, so his mic wasn't coming through. I think he's rejoining.
Let's stop and then start it again so we don't
Sure.
have any missing.
Okay.
I don't want to lose any.
Sully?
Can you hear me
Yeah.
We got
Did you
Yeah.
switch to Verizon?
Yep.
Which brings us to today's sponsor, Verizon. Can you hear me now?
Right.
Just kidding.
Did we already talk about the?
I better cancel this workout. I was about to like do a workout on silent mode. I was like, well, if they can't hear me, I might as well get some sweet spot.
Might as well.
Man.
I'm like, why is Jay so rude? He keeps talking over me. I know he's the guest. But I'm like, oh, my square is not purple. If you guys heard like a small explosion, that was my mic coming unplugged at the beginning.
We didn't hear a thing, including you. He probably had all these great jokes lined up too for how he beat Greg to the podcast this morning.
I saw his mouth moving repeatedly. He was saying stuff.
I was talking about how Clay was watching in the terminal, and then he said there was about 5 minutes left in the race when they boarded, and so he was just like praying his internet would hold up on the plane before they took off, and it did.
I was watching. Let's see. I was requested to go to the grocery store in the middle of the race, so I was standing in the middle of Meyer, staring at my phone. And I was with my wife and my daughter. They were in a different section, and my wife was like, "Where are you?" It's like, having a hard time finding milk. Hold on.
Be back shortly.
The milk.
Yeah. And then
Honey,
actually
they don't
when
have
I-
eggnog.
Yeah. I waited for one of the, mid-course, one of the climbs in the middle laps to finish. And then I was like, okay, I got to check out fast.
Dad life.
Home.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like one thing I guess I probably should have realized beforehand, but like in that little in the screen, they only showed like people in the top 10 on the right.
Sure.
And so obviously I'm one of those guys that I'm going to stay as far away from the front as I possibly can the entire race.
Yeah.
And so like I think my parents got frustrated because they never knew if I was still there or not because they couldn't see me in the top 10.
Right.
And then on the final climb, like the guy that I was like right there next to the entire way up was Christopher McGlinchey. And I went back and watched it. Like his name kept showing up on the little screen, but mine never did. I'm like, man, if I'd known that, I would just like gone a little bit harder just to get my name on the screen so people knew I was still there.
We saw it a couple
Mine.
times.
We knew your jersey number, so we were looking
Yeah.
for you in the pack, and we were, and we would have shamed you if we had seen you in the top 10, like when you should have been drafting. So it was the right
on
decision.
one of the downhills, I got a screenshot of you in the number 5 position. Your name was like second or third lap, one of the descents in the super tuck. I think you slid up to 5th. Like I can send
Nice.
that. I was
It's because I'm one of the bigger riders of the group at 136.
at 136.
It's funny, like when I first started Zwifting, like I was a runner, so I was like in shape. It wasn't like I was out of shape or anything, but I was like 165 when I first started Zwifting, and then I immediately lost like eight or 9 pounds, like within a month, like real quick. And then I got down to like 150 for like the longest time, and then when I started like getting serious about my diet and stuff, started losing some more weight, and then but yeah, for the race, my weigh-in was at 136. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
It was nuts. But it's funny
Was that
because
just
like
from volume or like?
yeah, both. Like I tried to be smart about my weight loss, so I basically just kind of tried to do like a 500 calorie deficit. And I mean, some days it was difficult when I had like an easy ride and didn't burn that many calories. But like most days, if I'm burning 1 to 1,500 calories, like it's not that hard to do a 500 calorie deficit. I can pretty much eat whatever I wanted. And but yeah, I mean, when I first started doing it, nothing really happened. But then like after a couple weeks of being like really strict about it, like the weight just started coming off like half a pound to a pound a week kind of stuff. And yeah, and it was I got about as low as I think I can.
So
And at least as low as I can and still be safe, and like didn't compromise any of my watts. Like I was still putting out like pure wattage personal best like during the race.
that's awesome. Yeah.
So I feel pretty good that I didn't
How many
compromise anything
calories per day are you taking?
and did it the right way.
Do you know?
So like a day like today, it's probably going to be a heavier volume day. But like on an average day, I'll probably burn around 700 to 1,000 riding. And I assume that I just burn 2,000 calories by being alive and walking around. So usually try to eat
3,000.
around 2,300 calories. Yeah.
How
I mean-
how else did you change your training, Jay? Because I know, you're known for your sprint, prepping for a 2.5 turned into 3.5 minute climb. What else did you do?
Yeah, so I got some workouts from like the team, and some of the workouts I did that really helped. I think like one of them was like 3 minutes at like 90% of like your best 3 minute all time. So like pretty much full gas, 3 minutes, and then 3 minutes rest, then 2 minutes at 90%, then 1 minute at 90%.
Ouch.
So it was like super hard efforts with a little bit of rest, and so trying to get your body to recover really quick because the climb is tricky. Like it's not like a pure incline the entire time. So it was like punchy and a climb at the same time. So it was
That's wild.
so stuff like that.
When
So that was difficult for me to do because I like racing so much.
How-
But another thing one of the coaches suggested was to try different things like during a race. Since I love racing so much, and I wasn't going to stop racing. Like there were some races where instead of waiting for the sprint finish, go like a minute out or 2 minutes out and see if you can hold the pack off and try to simulate that 2 minute final climb kind of effort at the end of a race.
Who were the coaches, Jay?
So the guys that I interacted with, so there's the head of, I forgot what his name was. I know his name. His name's Jeff, but I forgot what his title was. I think it's like the head of performance or something. I don't know. But anyway, he gave me some workouts. Patrick Wally, he was one of the DSs from last year's team and kind of like a coach. He gave me some workouts. And then Greg Grosecki as well. He and Matt Gardner, they were the two DSs this year. They also kind of suggested some stuff for me as well.
The Matt Gardner of like Saris. Yeah, that's the same one.
Yep.
Cool.
I was gonna ask
That's Michael. It's always Michael, right?
how far out did you start riding at 100% trainer difficulty?
I started as soon as I got my kicker. So I got it about mid-January or so. So I hopped on that, I traded it out, and pretty much went to 100%.
Now the real
immediately.
question is, are
Try
you
to
going to
get
stick
used
with
to
100%? Have you gotten that used to it?
Not for my Saris. It's I don't know. I've been kind of thinking about going to it because I actually liked it more than I thought I would.
You hearing this, Sully?
It's kind of nice
You hearing
to.
this?
Well, now that you have gears, Clay.
Yeah, now that I have gears, I can
Clay
actually
was-
shift.
Clay was telling me how he was over at your house setting up the bike the night before, and you have a mechanic, so
Yeah, I know it's funny. I was so worried because my front derailleur didn't work because I never used it, and it got corroded, and so I was like, oh man, like I need to go buy a new front derailleur so I can shift for this climb because I think it peaks out at like 17%. And I was telling some of the guys on Team USA, like, yeah, I don't have a front derailleur yet, but I'm working on it. And one of the guys was like, dude, if you have to shift into your small ring on your front, you're going to get dropped anyway. I was like, oh, crap. But he was right. I never shifted into the front derailleur or the small ring in the front.
Jeez.
That's impressive.
An interesting tip. Something you wouldn't think about, but yeah.
Yeah.
And this is all remind us on your $50 Boudreaux bike that you may or may not have given up to me.
That's right. Yep, my $800 Giant. Still the greatest deal I think I've ever found in my entire life. Whether it's legal or not, who knows?
risk of life and limb.
Organs, not limbs.
If you guys want to hear the story, though, you got to go
Yeah,
back
very
to
first
the
episode.
the old episode.
Actually, it was episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, from humble beginnings.
Jay, one of the things I think we talked about last time was just like how people around you perceive your Zwifting. So like now that it's a world championship, and as a 2-time world champion,
Humble
I
brag.
just ask like what Has that changed? Is it the same? Like at work,
Yeah, so
family, friends. Like, what's the?
yeah, so it's actually been like kind of fun because like I tried explaining to my boss like that I qualified for this world championship thing on like e-biking, and like he was like perplexed by it, but also like really curious about it. So he asked me all these questions about it, and like I think he like understands. And then he told his boss about it. She didn't really understand, but she thought it was amazing that I was doing something with Team USA, and
Yeah.
she like went and Googled it herself and saw that like on the USA Cycling website, my name popped up, and she thought this was the coolest thing
'Cause it
ever.
is.
And so she's been like sending out like emails and stuff like to our entire organization
Wow.
about my cycling, and she ended up sending it to her boss, so like the president of our company, and so like all of a sudden like our company is like, actually I got an email in my inbox right now that I'm trying to finalize. They're doing an article on me for Exxon, like a
Wow.
employee spotlight. So I'm like trying to figure out how to word it and explain what Zwift is in like a very short little bio. So yeah, no, it's been fun to try to explain it to all these people,
Yeah, Clay.
and nobody really quite understands.
Clay said he was on a call that day of the World Championships, and they're like, "All right, is everybody here?" And your boss was like, "Well, I don't think Jay's coming. He's got his bike thingy today." And Clay said he does have his bike thingy. I was over at his house setting up his bike last night. So. If by thingy you mean World Championship.
Yep. Yeah, so that's been really fun and really cool that that my whole organization has gotten behind me like that. I wasn't really expecting that.
Greg, we're gonna need to.
Like when you ride around in
fun.
the world like the USA jersey, like it's like, oh, like maybe this is real.
I know that's. I don't know what to do with that now, because like now that the race is over, I still have that jersey like in my garage. Like I could put it on right now if I wanted.
Heck yeah.
But I feel like that's kind of like pretentious or something. Like, hey, everybody, look at me.
It's the most comfortable jersey
Team
you
USA.
own. That's right. In that case, you should wear it all the time.
We have some friends on Zwift that always TTT in their World Champions jersey. So.
We do have friends.
No names, because we know they're watching. But.
No nationalities mentioned.
Not needed.
Is that too much? I was gonna say we need to get Greg on a championship team because I mean everybody else here has that title. So
That's fine.
Drew is going for number 2, starting next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true. Don't know how we're going to do it without
Nice.
some of the teammates that we had in the past, like namely one woman from Britain, an insane climb, but
Hannah Peters.
we do what we can.
I don't think there's
Yeah.
I don't think you have anybody on your team that's willing to throw up.
To truly give it their all.
Also, another point.
And if you're not willing to go all the way, like I don't know. But I hear you hired a great
Yeah,
BS.
actually, we locked down somebody who knows the business a little bit.
His skills are unproven as of yet, so we'll see. They're talking
I'm
about
not
me, Jay.
concerned.
There's gonna be
There will be great
banter.
banter. I guarantee
I
you.
don't know who
Banter.
he'll be talking to.
They're probably gonna hate me. PCast is gonna be like, God, will he ever shut up? Just trying to race.
They think I talk a lot. In a race.
Just wait.
Yeah, get this New York and shut up.
They weren't on our team last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting, that I'm really curious what the future of Zwift racing is going to be. Now that they're like disbanding the Premier League and stuff, and I don't know, it's gonna be weird. I don't know what they're gonna do. I know.
Have they given a reason for that?
They said they want to make it like they want to have more standardized hardware. So like that right there, in my mind is like a huge red flag, because
Yeah.
that's not easy. It's making a standardized hardware for people to use. So that was one of the reasons, and I can't remember what the other one was, but I think some way to make racing a little more fair and controllable, I think, is the main driver behind it.
It's
Yeah,
interesting that they're conceding that it's not currently.
Or that it possibly might not be.
I had
Yeah.
not heard that they're disbanding the Premier League. This is news to me.
Yeah. Oh,
It
sorry.
doesn't impact us.
I am not Premier.
But yeah, I guess what they're doing as well is, since they essentially promised that the winners of the A division would be promoted, they're still doing that. They're just going to get them promoted to, it's like they're rolling out some new form of racing where it's like team versus team. But that's like all they've said. I'm curious if it's going to be like what Dirt did like not too long ago, where like Dirt had like 6 versus 6 racing or something. So apparently the winners of the A division will get to do that next season instead of like the typical Premier Zwift Racing League stuff.
So does that change for you guys how you get to participate, or do you still just get one team allowed to represent?
Yeah, I have no idea. I think it's still, so I know it's still like one team. So we can't have like multiple next riders or multiple next teams. So we're kind of bummed about that, because we could have had 2 teams in the playoffs that could have potentially promoted. But no, I think they're not going to let us do that. But it's also really bad because I think for the A division, only the top placing team in the division gets to do playoffs. And since we aren't eligible to promote, we're not going to race in the playoffs too, because we don't want to block somebody from getting in or affect the race, essentially. And but so we reached out to WTRL and said, hey, since we can't like do the playoffs, like, can you give our spot to the team who gets second? And they basically came back and said no.
Yeah.
And in a lot more rude of a fashion than that.
So you guys,
But
you
we're
guys
like, man,
are
we're like-
choosing not to be part of the playoffs, or they're not allowing you to be?
I think we're choosing not to be a part of it. Because last season, when we did the playoffs as Dirt, there were teams that were in the playoffs that had a team in the Premier League, and we all thought that was kind of interesting that they would do that. But even though they're not eligible to promote, but anyway, so yeah, it was now we all feel like jerks because like we blocked 2 different teams from doing the playoffs. But it's like, how do you tell a bunch of guys to like not win? Like a bunch of super
Come in
competitive
close
guys
second, please.
that want to win. Like, yeah, do good, but not too good. So, and then like most of those guys on the team haven't won a division yet, so they don't have the helmet or whatever that comes with it. And so a lot of those guys,
The helmet
really
I'm
wanted the helmet,
currently
so,
wearing in game as we
so
speak.
like whatever. Yeah. So yeah, needless to say, we I think we blocked 2 teams, and I feel pretty bad about it. I think everyone else does too,
But I don't think you should.
yeah, I know that's the thing we kept like saying is like, it stinks, but maybe like this will raise awareness to WTRL that like, hey,
Yeah, right.
you should change your rules. Like I feel like we're being punished for trying to do
And
our
others
best,
are being punished too,
but
in a way.
Well, and
yeah, others are being.
And I mean,
everyone-
your team bringing
nobody wins from
competition
this.
that it did pushes the other teams to get better. So I mean, it's a win-win even
Well-
if you're not winning.
And
Yeah,
fierce competition is what, I don't know, raises the stake
Yep.
for spectators.
Yep.
Which is what everyone wants that's running this.
You'll,
Right, like
yep.
You'll have more competition next season once Kings promote.
the Kings being our A1 team. Who?
You dare say one team.
We had a slight technical snafu
right.
where they got demoted.
That was my
We're
bad.
not pointing fingers here, Jay.
No, I am. That was my.
they had a lot of fun. They had a blast. So.
Yeah, that was funny because like when all that started happening, Brosta had like reached out to me or whatever and asked me, like, did you get an email? And I was like, I think they sent me an email, but I just deleted it because I knew I wasn't doing it anymore. And and then when I do remember specifically, like when the registration occurred for next, they sent me the registration thing, and it said, like, you're the team manager for Eat Dirt Aces. Would you like to no longer be the team manager and sign up for next? And I was like, yeah. So I just clicked it and didn't think anything of it. I didn't know there's any consequences to that. Yeah, and apparently those details were in that email that I did not read.
TLDR.
So yeah, exactly.
Okay, what's been the biggest transition as you like moved over to Next? Has your racing schedule
Discord
changed,
involvement dropped,
or is it just that like, yeah, or is it just that like they sent you that hat, you would have had to buy it from us? Like, what's the?
Yeah, they did. Yep, free hat. That's the whole reason I joined right there.
I'm just trying to help you get the product placement in. But.
Yeah. No, it's I think the biggest transition is to kind of like see how like a professional team like works and communicates like during a race and before the race, like the prep that goes into it. Like there's no accident that these guys are some of the best in the world right now. Like they don't just wake up in the morning and just happen to win all the time. Like they put a lot of prep into it and communicate. They know each other like so well, their strengths and stuff, and so that's been really kind of interesting to learn from them. Kind of like what kind of goes into it, but also like what happens like during the race and all the communication that goes on during. So that's been whereas like on dirt, like we just show up and ride and race and have fun. Which I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
That was our goal.
We're not really taking it that seriously. We're here to have fun. So it's just kind of interesting to see that like business like attitude at times. But I mean, also like they prioritize like the Premier League, obviously. So they're willing to like try new stuff in some of these other races, like the KISS races, and trying different tactics. And so that's been kind of fun too, to like say like, all right, we're just gonna like, we've got 8 guys in this race. We're just gonna keep sending guys off the front until somebody sticks, just to see what happens. How many times does it take? Or they stop chasing us?
The craziest tactic that
like,
you
so
have
that's
been a part of so far.
Kind of cool. So there was one. It was like I think it was 3 laps of the Richmond race. It was a longer race, and so like Jerry and I went off the front after like the first like 10K, and we were thinking that they were gonna chase us because typically in the past, like whenever 2 people or more from the team go, everyone takes that attack seriously because they know it's going to be coordinated, and they try to pull it back pretty quick. Well, we had like 3 other guys go with us, and nobody chased really. Like we built like a 30-second gap, and so we're like, oh man, like this is actually working. And but then we're like, all right, do we really think this break is going to stick, or is it going to come back? Because we still had 2 more laps, and the gap kind of stalled out. So they're like, all right, what we're going to do is Jerry and I stop pulling and let them do all the work. And if the brake sticks, then it works. But if not, we're going to launch another attack from the pack, and then use our group as like a bridge. And that's ended up what happening. Our gap was like slowly coming down. So then like a couple of the next guys, once we hit those hills, just like destroyed it on the front and made that bridge. And then Jerry and I had like fresh enough legs where we could go with them. And all of a sudden it was like we countered our own attack kind of thing.
That's cool.
So it was just kind of fun. Like if I had been in that race, like not with a team and had seen that,
that's so cool.
I would have just thought, man, like they got really lucky, or like, how did that happen? Like there's no way. So it was kind of cool to like know that we had a plan like the entire time.
Were you surprised like how long the break stayed away in the championship race, or was?
Kind of, because we had the coach in our ears like the entire time, the DSs, and so they were telling us like who's working, who's not in the break, and like luckily everybody was working and pulling really hard at the front. And then they're like, all right, looks like we got Sam Hill from Australia on the front, like smashing it like we thought he would. And he was giving us like constant like time gaps. And so like when it stayed pretty steady at 17, we knew that would be like kind of the make or break point was around 20 seconds. We figured that that lead group needed about 20 seconds to stay away at the start of the climb. And so like once we hit the climb, I think it was at like 13 seconds or something. So I think we knew that it's probably not going to stick at this point. But yeah, we were really pulling for him. But it just didn't work out.
I mean, in everyday Zwift racing, like not in pro Zwift racing, there's no breakaways.
There was the...
Like it's just not a thing. So for us, it's like, whoa, this actually looks like a World Tour race. Right? Like there's a group off the front, there's people chasing, like
That break that stuck, there was a...
Yeah.
Did you guys vote on the YouTube quiz that popped up? You were watching? There was a quiz that popped up that said, is this break going to stay? And I was like, no. And the results popped up after like 10 seconds or whatever. I think it was, I knew in that moment, everybody watching was a Zwifter because it was like 67 no, 67%. There were hundreds of votes. And like everyone's like, no. And then it did, and I was like, oh wow.
no chance.
It was surprising.
Technically, it didn't.
Yeah. That's just one thing that I think another big transition that I've noticed going to some of these like higher end races is there is a lot of breakaway attempts. And that's because like with like most races, like with the category system, like there's a ceiling. Like people are only so good or they're going to promote to the next one. So like you're not that much better than everybody to be able to make a breakaway. Whereas like in these A+ races, like we're racing with guys that have like 6.7 watts per kilogram for their 20 minute. And like mine is sitting like around 5. So they're significantly better than me and have a much stronger chance
At that skill.
at staying away. Yeah.
Because if they take you to the line, they're in trouble.
That's cool. And I know you did like the next
So that's
Instagram
been fun.
takeover, but you talked about like your calorie deficit and things like that. What about like on the race day? What did you have in your bottles, stuff like that?
Yeah, so that was another thing is like I've always just done water like for races and stuff, but I knew that like for the race day, like I wanted to leave no stone unturned. Like I wanted to give myself the best possible chance for success that I could, and I didn't want to leave any regrets. Like, oh man, I wish I had like actually thought about nutrition a little better. And so I ended up kind of experimenting with some stuff before the big race, and it was actually kind of nice that we had the U.S. National Championships the week before, because that allowed me to like pretty much treat it as a race day, like completely mirror what I was going to do for Worlds, to make sure that everything was going to work like I expected it to. And so I had like some I don't even remember what brand it is, but had some hydration mix that I used. And then I also threw in some caffeine as well.
They must not be a sponsor.
And
I just had the image of Guard from Wayne's World.
but they were cheap.
Yeah, like all
Or they were
decked out
free.
in the Reebok. And yeah, really selling out is so bad.
Jay, tell us about the USA Championship, because I don't know that any of us even really heard about it.
Yeah, Tom Corrigan was in there, and
Was it on Zwift?
he was like the only dirt guy I knew. No, so it was on RGT, which was a bummer because I'm just not used to that platform at all. But yeah, it was a long race. It was like over 2 hours, which again is not something I'm very good at. It's long races. but it had three laps, and each lap had about a 6-minute climb in it. And so the first lap wasn't too bad. Like if you look at my power file, like I'm like constantly like surging and letting off because I could not figure out the draft in that. It was very different. And then also RGT favors pure watts over watts per kilogram, like significantly. Like it's crazy.
Some guys in here that would appreciate that kind of racing.
Yeah. No, it's like the guy that won was like over 100 kilograms, and he was able to make it up and over that climb at like 3 watts per kilogram or 4. And I think the hardest one I did was the second time up. I think I did 6.7 for 5 minutes over that climb, which was like insane for me. And but it was on that second time up that I got to the top where I was with the front group, and then like over the top, like they pushed again, and like a little gap opened up. I was already on the limit because I just done 6.7 to get up the climb, and so I like surged as hard as I could to like get back on. And I thought I was like I thought I had made that jump to get back on, but I guess the draft dynamics, because they're different, there's no super tuck or anything. Like in Zwift, like I would have been back with the pack, no big deal. But like I like looked up, and I noticed that my gap was like growing again, and I was like, crap. And I like tried to surge again, but I just like had nothing left, and it didn't matter how hard I went, like I could not bridge that gap. And they just kind of rode off into the sunset, and there's nothing I could do about it. I was so mad. But it was still a fun experience. And I mean, it's still fun to try something new as well. Maybe next year I'll do a little better, but
cool.
But yeah, it was a good practice opportunity for the main race the next weekend.
God.
Yeah. I think it was top 10 or something.
Wow.
I think it was 10th actually. But,
Most people don't know that about racing. Is you actually finish at the finish line.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna start bulking up. Get ready for the USA.
you should.
It's bulking
Eat
season.
more, smoke more.
The question that a lot of people.
But I think Tom beat me. So shout out to Tom
Tom's a beast
on that. Yeah,
Question
he
that
is.
a lot
He
of
really
people want
is.
to know is: do you get to keep the USA jersey in game? Does that stay in your garage?
Nice.
I do.
Will you wear it all the time?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is like I'm nervous
Oh, I
about
thought
wearing
you
it
were
around
talking
Zwift
about
because like nobody
wearing
else
your
is
in
from the
real
team.
life jersey.
I don't want to be that guy. No, I'm gonna
Yes,
wear that
you
every
should.
chance I get.
Yeah, you can just wear it under a work shirt. Skin tight.
So are you gonna wear? You gonna frame it, or are you gonna just keep wearing it?
I don't know. That's the thing I joke about. Like I'm gonna wear it all the time, but like I'll be too scared to wear it because like if I were to crash and like rip it or something, like I would probably cry.
Maybe we need to like take a collection for a frame. Jay's wife and have a frame.
The funny thing is, it's going to say "eat dirt" all around the frame. So
Yeah, so like the
just eat dirt stickers everywhere.
yeah, but it was funny too because like the tag that came on it, like it has like your typical like medium, don't put it in the dryer, but it also had like the label for it, and it was Team USA Tokyo Olympics on there. And I was just like, so I was like, that is so cool, and I was like so pumped about it. But my wife just saw like a tag, and she just threw it away. And like, the next day, I'm like, have you seen the tag? Like, I cannot find it anywhere. I want to keep it. And she's like, are you talking about the tag that came on your jersey? I'm like, yeah. She's like, so I threw that away. And I was like, no. Yes. So I like went and dug through the trash and found it.
I was
and,
very much hoping that's where the story
kept
ended.
it.
As soon as you said your wife threw it away, I was like,
So
trash, take the trash.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I did. I found it.
Yeah.
And it was like zero hesitation, went straight to the trash. But I went to like the main trash can, like in our kitchen, and like dug through that. And my wife just like let me do that for like a few minutes before she told me that. She's like, no, put it in the bathroom trash can.
I'm hoping you guys have a diaper pail somewhere.
Yes, it's in the
That's
diaper pile. I
gone
put it in one of the
forever.
poopy diapers. Good luck. Yeah, no, I would have found it.
So during the race, like in the video chat, there may have been some contention every time they would talk about how many next riders qualified, and we were like, he was not on next when he qualified.
That's right. We had evidence.
Yeah, I know it's funny because there was an article that came out like a couple days before that that was about the next team and how I think it was like titled like teammates become rivals or something like that. But like in it, it talked about how next qualified like the top 4 guys
Not true.
in the race. And
It's a technicality.
Technically. Technically, they
They
did
now
3 of the
have
top
4 of
5.
the
But,
top 5. But
but they,
How did a lot of that work leading up to the race? Because I mean,
But, no,
it seems like twice, 3 times a week there was a new article posted about the series and the races, and how did you do with all of that?
I mean, luckily, like from a prep standpoint, I was not a favorite at all, and I'm still relatively unknown. So like nobody wanted to talk to me the week of or the week before.
Yeah.
The people on the team, they got a lot of questions and videos and interviews. I didn't get any, so I was.
You
Well,
had a
hey,
slot
here
on
we
our
are, bro.
podcast.
you got
There we go.
I mean,
yeah. None of the other guys, they don't have a first name unless a second. So. We have literally
Dozens.
Dozens, scores.
there are dozens of them. 2 females at least.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and enjoy
and Anna.
it.
Yeah, well, hey, that's
It's a good.
like a pretty significant
It's
uptick.
not the quality or the quantity of the ladies; it's the quality of the ladies that watch.
That's it.
Well, there'll be some extra ladies for the Fremont Latimer.
His wife.
Why is he wearing it? Is he not wearing a shirt or
He
something?
juggles on the bike. Do you have any skills on the bike that you can show us,
The
Jim?
key there is that you could show us.
Just
No,
sprinting.
not at all.
He did 6.7 for 5 minutes. That's a skill.
Yeah.
That's a pretty neat trick.
Not one that comes up at parties very often, but unfortunately,
That's awesome.
No, not quite often.
it'd be the worst
So
part.
if you're playing,
Thank goodness.
or the
you're playing
best.
for next year, is that going to go like same idea for the qualifying schedule? You're planning to hope to hit the qualifying circuit again?
Yeah, definitely. Because that's really the only guaranteed way to get on the team. Because if you don't qualify, then you can like submit a petition saying, "This is why I think I would do well for Team USA.
Yeah.
Pick me," kind of thing.
Who was the
so-
top U.S. finisher?
So, yeah. Ryan Larson. I think he finished 13th or something like that.
Were you second?
But I was second US, yeah. So I was 17th overall. So that was a surprise. I didn't, because like that final climb, like once we hit like the steep part, I basically just like put my head down and just focused all my energy onto every single pedal stroke. Like I had no idea where I was in the pack. And looking back at like the replay, like there's definitely a spot I wish I had
Yeah,
used
so I was
my
about to
feather
ask.
power up earlier than I did. Yeah, so I kind of wish I'd looked up because it was like there's one part where it gets the steepest, like right towards the top, and like that's like I was right there in the top, like right with the group that finished in the top 10. And if I'd used my power up there, I could have just hung on to them and then had somebody to draft off of leading up
Did
to
they
that
have any
last little
rules
kick.
about who needed to activate your power-ups?
No, they did specifically say that
Cool.
anybody can do it. You can have a
So
coach
we're
there
going to
with you
blame
that
this
does
on
it for
Clay's vacation to Florida.
you. Yes.
Clay,
yes,
where's the
we
space
should.
bar? Clay, where are you?
But But yeah, look, that's the only regret I have is I wish I'd used it then and stayed in touch with the top 10. And maybe I could have gotten lucky on the finish and finished top 10. But
Did you use
that's
it on the
neither here nor
final
there.
kick? Is that what?
Yeah, that final little kick. Like if I'd no, not the one like right before the finish line.
But did you end up
There's
using
like-
it? Like where'd you hit it?
Yeah, that's where I used the power up right on that final little kick. But it really didn't matter that much because there wasn't really anybody next to me. I was just kind of by myself. So I was like, man, I wish I'd used that to stay with the group and finished in the group, mid-pack of the group, rather than not using it and finishing behind the group.
One of the really interesting things that happened at
But-
the finish, I don't know if people have talked about it, is that I just blanked on his name. The German rider went with the arrow into the final climb.
Yeah.
Do you think he like blew his feather
Yeah.
and that's just what he had, or was that strategic?
I think that was strategic because, like, if you look back, like, he intentionally went when it flattened out. And I think he was kind of anticipating that once it flattened out, everyone was going to, like, try to rest and recover and give one hard punch at the finish. And he's going to try to take advantage of that and catch everyone sleeping. And it almost worked. I mean, he really
It
did.
looked like he
almost
definitely
pull it
burned
off
some matches because
by doing that.
He
But
dropped it back pretty quick, right?
unfortunately, he had a
Unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like once he hit that last little kicker, though, he was pedaling through mud. He was struggling, but I say that, but he still was like going like 9 or 10 watts per kilogram. but yeah, it was that was interesting. I don't think everybody on Team USA knew that like the best power up for the finish was the feather. So I think every single one of us had that. So, but yeah. We weren't going to try his strategy. That was a bold strategy.
It's
It almost
definitely one of
paid
those
off,
things
but-
where it's like, if it does work, it's legendary. It's like, remember that time
Oh,
that
yeah,
guy
yeah.
did this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he did it. He did
Yeah,
it last
exactly.
year. Like he went off the front, like at the very, very beginning, and people kind of said like, "There's no way he can do that,"
Yeah.
and he never came back. He
Yeah.
was a little flatter last year.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
Just a smidge.
Yeah.
Everything.
That's cool.
Well,
Awesome story.
yeah.
for sure.
Jay, man, we're super pumped to have you back, and are really happy that everything's working out for you.
Yeah.
You know, looking forward to what's coming next. So
Definitely.
we'll have to have it on again.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. Pun intended.
Pun intended. Todd.
I didn't even realize that. My brain's just so foggy right now.
It's just your
It just comes out
poetic
naturally.
side.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's
the artiste
ingrained.
coming out.
Next, presented by Ingrained. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, seriously, thanks for joining us, Jay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
until the
thank
next great achievement, we'll have you back.
Yeah, it's always
So
fun.
you got 2 weeks. Go. Yeah, super proud.
Yeah, man, we're
All
proud
right.
of you, bro.
All right.
See you
we'll
guys. Greg informed us after I prematurely hit the stop button that he had a segment prepared, as he always does, because Greg is reliable.
I
It's
postponed
my
Really?
favorite segment. That's why I tune in every week.
Thank you. I postponed it on Wednesday because we hadn't even got into Fremont's juggling skills or his,
or
full
his
legal
bowel
name.
habits. But yeah.
His bowel habits. Thank you for that reminder. But I just want
That's
to
what
take a
I'm
quick,
here for.
Quick 30 seconds to return, as we always do, to Miller time. Normally, we have to detail the exploits of JJ Miller on the main Dirt server, but this week we finally get to talk about what JJ has done in our server. So, JJ joined the Eat Dirt server. So far, he has posted 5 GIFs. One of them is him saying, "I love butt stuff." Let's see, there's a Joker. There's the obligatory Miller time GIF of Jay Bruhn's doppelganger. And that's about it. But I really want to talk about how this week in Miller time, we're so excited JJ Miller has joined the Eat Dirt server. That's all. Thank you.
Are 2 Millers better than 1? Or
Yep.
did we
No.
Miller
open up
squared.
a
Which is
some-
the original
some
Miller.
kind of wormhole?
What do you mean? We only ever celebrate JJ Miller here, so
JJ's the only Miller we acknowledge.
You know, I mean, if you think about it in terms of who has the greater number of first initials, it also comes out JJ. You know,
He's
So,
better in every way.
Yeah, in every way possible.
it's not. I don't know how there's a competition.
There isn't. How about that?
Right.
Actually, and also for me, it's who do you get to ride with in real life in the future? You know, future
Boom.
time. Also me, because JJ lives across the river from me.
Is it really?
Yeah, he lives about 20 minutes away.
That's funny.
Anyway,
Thanks.
and this is where we end it with suck it, teeth.
Suck it, Miller.